everyone! So this is Reading by Ree. I'm reading The Power of Six by Pittacus Lore. I'll be picking up where we left off in the last video. So without further ado, gonna start on chapter 17. Chapter 17. As I burst through the burning door and land on the melting brown carpet of the living room, several things race through my mind. Sam, Henry's letter, the chest, Henry's ashes. I engulf myself purposefully in flames in order to move easily from room to room. "Sam!" I yell. "Where are you, Sam?" Past the living room, I see that the entire back wall of the house is burning. The house could collapse in a matter of a minute. I dart into the bedrooms, calling Sam's name. The bathroom door explodes with my kick. I check the kitchen, the dining room, and just when I'm about to try the living room again, I look out the window and see the chest and a pile of our belongings, including the laptop, the coffee can of Henry's ashes, and the unopened letter on the lip of the pool. Something small bobs in the middle of the water. It's Sam's head. He sees me and waves his arms. I crash through the window and knock over the grill. I dive into the pool, the flames surrounding me hissing into gray and black smoke. "You okay?" I think so," he says. We pull ourselves out of the water and stand over everything Sam was able to save. "What happened?" "Dude, they're here. They're totally here, the Mogdorians." The moment he says these words, I feel sick to my stomach. My jaw quivers. Then Sam says, "I saw them in the front window, and then, boom! The house was on fire. I grabbed what I could." There's movement on the roof. Between fissures of rising flames, I see a huge Mogadorian scout in a black trench coat, hat, and sunglasses marching down the decline, his feet sinking into the soft tiles with every step. He carries a long, gleaming sword. I kneel and grab a hold of the chest's lock, and it yields under my glowing grip. Brushing aside the crystals at the bottom of the chest, I pick up the dagger with the diamond blade. Flames dancing from the house reflect in its sharp edge. To my surprise, the handle extends and wraps itself around my entire right hand. "Get back," I say to Sam. The scout reaches the metal eave of the collapsing roof and he drops onto the patio below, his feet cracking the concrete when he lands. He slices the sword in the air in front of him and it leaves a glowing trail. I control my breath and go over the last week of training in my mind. The moment my feet push me forward, the scout roars and rushes at me with his trench coat billowing behind him. I see myself in his sunglasses the second before his sword swings across my body. I lean back far enough for him to miss me, but when I right myself, I enter the glowing trail the sword left behind. Pain attaches itself to my neck and travels to my waist. I'm knocked backwards and into the pool. When my head surfaces, I see Sam squaring off with the scout. His bare hands are up and out. He bobs his shoulders left and right. The scout laughs and drops his sword to the concrete, and then he mimics Sam's fighting stance. Before I can heave myself out of the pool to help, Sam drops his weight onto his left foot and circles his right behind him. His sopping right shoe comes back around and connects with the scout's face with a force that staggers him back several feet. The dazed scout picks up his gleaming sword. I'm up out of the pool before he can reach Sam, and I lift my dagger to block the plummeting sword. The blade meets, and there's a ball of light so bright I can't see for an instant. When the light fades, the scout's sword breaks at the exact spot my dagger collided with it. Not wasting the moment of surprise, I plunge the blade of my dagger into his chest and rip it downward. He turns to ash and it covers my feet. The house finally collapses. Beams of wood crack in different directions. Windows pop and explode from the walls. The roof flattening over it all like a book with a broken spine. A storm cloud appears overhead and a lightning bolt slices through the sky, landing just on the other side of the house. "We have to get to 6, Sam shouts. He's right. The proximity of the lightning can only mean she's in the middle of a battle, or finishing one. With my one free hand, I heft the chest up and over the backyard's brick wall after making sure the coast is clear. Sam tosses the rest up to me and then I pull him to the wall's cement top. We jump and roll on the moist grass beyond the wall. Securing everything behind a thick bush, we run around the front yard. In the middle of the driveway, just feet from our SUV, Six has a scout in a headlock, the muscles in her arms pulsing in the squeeze. 2 more scouts are approaching. One aims a long, cylindrical tube right at me, and the green light blasts me backwards. I can't breathe. I can't see. I roll into the high grass and feel the heat from the house. When I'm able to open my eyes, I see the scout with the tube standing above me. I slowly regain some feeling in my arms and legs. My breathing returns to normal. The handle of the dagger still encases my right hand. The scout adjusts a knob on the tube, perhaps going from stun to kill, and then he steps on my right wrist. I try swinging my legs up and over me, but they don't react the way I want them to, still sluggish from the paralyzing blast I just endured. The barrel of the tube is set between my eyes, and I think about the gun Six turned on the drunk man just an hour ago. This is it, I think. The Mogadorian's mission is a success. Number 4, check. On to number 5. I watch hundreds of lights in the tube spark to life, swirling until they become one. Just as he puts his finger on the trigger, Bernie Kosar clamps down on his thigh. The scout wobbles above me for a second before his head is separated from his body by a bolt of lightning. It rolls in the grass right next to mine. Our noses touch before the head crumbles into a pile of ash, and I do everything I can not to breathe it in. The body above me falls over and covers my jeans with ash. "Get up already!" Six yells, suddenly in the exact spot the scout had been. Sam appears above me too, his face stern and dirty. "We have to leave right now, John." The sound of sirens pierces the night. A mile away, maybe less. Bernie Kosar licks my left temple and whimpers. "What about the third one?" I whisper. Six looks over at Sam and nods. "I got hold of his sword and used it against him. Best moment of my life," he says. I'm draped over Six's shoulder, and she dumps me into the back seat of the SUV. Bernie Kosar settles himself on my shins and licks my lifeless right hand. Sam takes the keys and gets behind the wheel while Six retrieves our stuff. As soon as we're on the highway, and I no longer hear sirens, I'm able to relax and concentrate on my right hand. The dagger's handle transforms and retreats from my knuckles and wrist. I drop the dagger in the footwell. 15 minutes later, Six tells Sam to pull over, and we screech into the lit parking lot of a closed diner. She jumps out before the car has come to a complete stop, leaving the door open. "Help me," she orders. "Six, I don't want to be a dick right now, but I can't really move my arms and legs." "Dude, just really try. We have to get them off our trail," she says. "If we don't, then you're dead. Think about it." I struggle into a seated position and feel blood circulate to my legs. I climb out of the car and waver there in my burned clothes, having no idea what she needs help with. "Find the bug," she says. "Sam, keep the car running." "Roger," he says. "Find the what?" I ask. "They use bugs to track vehicles. Trust me. They did it with me in Katerina." "What does it look like?" "I have no idea, but time is short, so look fast." I almost want to laugh. There isn't a single thing in the world I think I could do fast right now, but nonetheless, Six goes racing around the SUV while I slowly drop to a knee and manage to crawl beneath it, flashing my hands on its undercarriage. Bernie Kosar gets to sniffing, starting at the bumper and moving his way forward. I spot it almost immediately. A small circular object no bigger than a quarter stuck to the plastic cover of the gas tank. "Got it!" I yell, plucking it off. I pull myself out and hand the device to Six while remaining on my back. She briefly studies it, then drops it in her pocket. "Aren't you going to destroy it?" "No," she answers. "Check again. We have to make sure there isn't a second, or a third." I crawl back under with my hands blazing, scooting from the back of the SUV to the front. I don't see anything. "You're sure?" she asks when I stand. "Yes." We get back in and speed away. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and Sam heads west. With Six's instructions, he keeps the SUV between 85 and 90, and I can't help but worry about police. After 30 miles, he jumps onto an interstate and drives south. "We're almost there," she says. 2 miles later, she tells Sam to get off the interstate. "Stop! Right here! Stop!" Sam slams the brakes beside an idling semi whose owner is pumping gas. Six goes invisible and steps out, leaving the door ajar. "What's she doing?" Sam asks. "I don't know." After a few seconds, the door slams shut. Six reappears and tells Sam to get us back onto the highway, this time heading north. She's relaxed a bit, no longer holding a white-knuckled grip on the dashboard. "Are you really going to make me ask what you just did?" I say. She glances over. "That truck was on its way to Miami. I stuck the tracking device on the underside of its trailer. Hopefully they'll lose a few hours trailing him south while we drive north." I shake my head. Should be an interesting night for that trucker. Once we're past the Ocala exit, Six tells Sam to get off and park behind a strip mall a few minutes from the interstate. "We sleep here tonight," Six says. "Actually, we'll take turns sleeping." Sam opens his door and turns his body sideways to dangle his feet out of the SUV. Guys? I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but, well, I got cut pretty bad back there, and it's really starting to hurt, and I think I'm about to pass out. What? I scramble out of the vehicle and stand in front of him. He pulls up the dirty right leg of his jeans to reveal a wound above the knee that's slightly smaller than a credit card, though probably an inch deep. Dried and fresh blood cover his knee and shin. Good Lord, Sam, I say. When did that happen? Right before I got a hold of that Mogs sword, I kind of pulled it out of my leg. All right, come on, get out of the car, I say. Get on the ground. Six shoves her head under Sam's armpit and helps him to the ground. I open the back and retrieve the healing stone from the chest. Better hold on to something, man. This might sting. Six offers her hand and he takes it. The second I press the stone to his wound, he writhes in agony as every muscle tightens. It seems like he's going to pass out. The skin around his wound turns white, then black, then to the bright red color of blood, and I immediately regret attempting to use the stone on a human. Did Henry ever say it won't work on them? I'm trying to remember as Sam lets out a long-winded groan that empties him of air. The outer edge of the wound seals inward and then disappears altogether. Sam relaxes his grip on Six's hand and he slowly regains his breath. After a minute, he's able to sit up. Man, do I ever want to be an alien, he finally says. You guys get to do way too many cool things. You had me worried there for a second, buddy, I say. Wasn't sure if it would work on you since some of the other stuff from the chest doesn't. Me either, Six adds. She leans over and kisses him on his dirty cheek. Sam lies back down and sighs. Six laughs and rubs her hand over his head of stubble, and I'm surprised by how much jealousy bubbles inside me. Do you want to go to the hospital? I ask. I want to stay right here, he says. Forever. You know what? We're pretty lucky we were out on that walk, Six says after we settle back into the SUV. You're right, I say. Sam places his right cheek on his headrest so he can look at us both. Why were you guys out walking in the first place? I couldn't sleep. Neither could Six, I answer, which technically is the truth, but it doesn't take away the guilt. I know that Sarah's the girl for me, but I can't seem to stop these new feelings I have. Six sighs. You know what this means, right? What? They've probably opened my chest. You don't know that for sure. No, I don't. But after I grabbed that rock from your chest and it started pulsing and hurting my hand, I haven't been able to shake the feeling I got from it. And it just now came to me that it probably has something to do with my chest. They've had your chest for 3 years now, I say. So you think it's possible for them to open the chest without us being dead? She shrugs. I don't know. Maybe. But I have this feeling that they got into mine and that when I touched that stone, it somehow led the scouts to our house. Why send so few? Sam asks between yawns. I mean, why not wait for reinforcements before attacking? Maybe they got scared and panicked, Six offers. Maybe one of them wanted to be the hero, I say. Six rolls down her window and listens. When she's satisfied, she says, regardless. Next time, there will be more of them. Pikins and crawls and whatever else they can throw at us. You're probably right, Sam whispers. He's drifting off. I'll tell you one thing. This being on the run is really wearing me down. Tried doing it for 11 years, I say. I think I'm a little homesick, he mumbles. I lean forward and see that in his lap he's holding his father's old glasses, the ones with the thick lenses he used to wear in paradise. It's not too late to go back, Sam. You know that, right? He frowns. I'm not going back. It's with far less conviction this time around than when he had first said it in the North Carolina motel. Not until I find my dad, or until I at least learn what happened to him. His dad? Six mouths to me, confused. Later, I mouth back. Fair enough, I say. We'll figure it out eventually. I turn back to Six. So, where do we head tomorrow morning? Now that it seems they opened my chest, I guess we'll see where the wind carries us. It hasn't let me down yet, she says in a wistful sort of tone, then glances over at me. Did you know that if it wasn't for the wind and my need for caffeine one night in Pennsylvania, the night before the attack in Paradise, I'd have never gotten there in time? What are you talking about? I ask. I was drifting through the Midwest, sensing you guys were in Ohio or in West Virginia or Pennsylvania, after I found some news online of what I thought was probably the handiwork of Mogs in Athens, near that college. But after a few weeks of coming up empty, I was certain I'd lost your trail. I figured you guys had taken off for California or Canada by that point. So there I was, standing in the parking lot of the strip mall, tired and lost, practically broke, when this huge gust of wind ripped past me and blew open the door to a coffee shop on my left. I thought I would refuel and get back out there and figure something out. But in the corner of the shop was an open computer for customers. I bought a large coffee and started searching the internet. Sure enough, I found an article about the house on fire that you jumped out of. I'm embarrassed to know how easy it was to find me. No wonder Henry wanted to keep me home or at school all the time. If it wasn't for that gust of wind opening that door, I would have probably ended up in a diner instead, sipping coffee until daylight. I wrote down all the information I could find on you guys, and then I ran down the street looking for an all-night copy place. That's when I sent the fax and the letter with my number, to try to warn you guys, or at the very least, to tip you off so you could brace yourselves until I got there. And I arrived just in the nick of time. Okay, so that was the end of chapter 17. It's probably about 16 minutes so far. Let's see, this is kind of a long chapter. I'll read it. I actually have somewhere to be this morning, which is why I'm up so early and I'm recording. Not that you know that, but I have to be in Salisbury to go to some appointments due to my, craziness. So that'll be going on today. So I know my brother's coming here to pick me up, just because I can't stand going to these appointments alone. I get so anxious and sick, which is another reason why I'm reading, because it's helping to calm me down and keep me under control and not throw up again. Anyway, so without further ado, so there will most likely be an interruption when he rings the doorbell. Hopefully he won't curse this time. But, yeah, so I'm going to try to fit this chapter in. Okay, chapter 18. The wind carries us north to an Alabama motel where we stay 2 nights, again thanks to Sam using one of my identities. From there we drive west and spend a night beneath the stars in an open field in Oklahoma, which we follow up with 2 more nights in a Holiday Inn on the outskirts of Omaha, Nebraska. And from there, for no apparent reason, at least for no reason she'll admit to, Six drives 1,000 miles east to rent a log cabin nestled in the mountains of the Maryland Panhandle, a mere 5-minute drive to the West Virginia border, and 3 short hours from the Mogadorian Cave. We're exactly 197 miles from Paradise, Ohio, where our journey first began, half a tank of gas from Sarah. Before my eyes even open, I can already feel it's going to be a tough day. One of those days when the reality of Henry's death will hit me like a sledgehammer, and no matter what I do, the pain won't leave. I've been having these days more often. Days filled with remorse, filled with guilt, filled with a genuine sadness to know I'll never talk to him again. The thought cripples me. I wish I could change it. But as Henry once said, some things can never be undone. And then there's Sarah, and the terrible guilt that's crept in since leaving Florida for allowing myself to get so close to Six that I almost kissed her. I take a deep breath, finally opening my eyes. The pale morning light enters the room. Henry's letter, I think. I have no choice but to read it now. It's too dangerous to delay it any longer, not after almost losing it in Florida. I slip my hand beneath the pillow and remove the diamond-bladed dagger and the letter. I've been keeping both of them close to me. I stare at the envelope for a moment, trying to imagine under what circumstances the letter was written. Then I sigh, knowing it doesn't really matter and that I'm just wasting time, and with the dagger I make a clean cut along the envelope seal and remove the pages. Henry's perfect handwriting fills 5 yellow, legal-sized sheets with thick black ink. I take a deep breath and then let my eyes fall upon the top sheet. January 19th. J. I've written this letter many times over the years, never knowing whether it might be my last, but if you're reading this now, then surely the answer is yes. I'm sorry, John. I truly am. We Seapans who came, our duty was to protect you 9 at all costs, including our lives. But as I put down these words at our kitchen table mere hours after you saved me in Athens, I know it's never been duty that has kept you and me together. but rather love that will always be a stronger bond than any obligation. The truth is that my death was always going to happen. The only variables were when and how, and if it hadn't been for you, then I would have certainly died today. Whatever the circumstances of my death, please don't blame yourself. I never expected to survive here, and when we left Lorien all those years ago, I knew I'd never be going back. In the time between me writing these words and you reading them, I wonder how much you've discovered. I'm confident you now know that I kept a lot from you, probably more than I should have. For most of your life I wanted you to stay focused, to train hard. I wanted to give you as normal a life on Earth as I could. I'm sure you'll find that idea laughable, but to know the full truth would have added a world of stress during an already stressful time. Where to begin? Your father's name was Lyrin. He was brave and powerful, and he lived his life with integrity and purpose. As you witnessed during your visions of the war, he carried out these traits until the very end, even when he knew the war was unwinnable. And that's about all any of us can really hope for, to die with our dignity, to die with honor and valor, to die knowing we did everything we could. That was the epitome of who your father was. It's the epitome of who you are, too, even if you don't necessarily believe it. I sit up, my back flat against the headboard, rereading my father's name over and over. The lump in my throat expands into a rock. I wish Sarah was here, urging me to read on, her head on my shoulder. I focus my eyes on the next paragraph. When you were just a small child, your father came around, even when he wasn't supposed to. He adored you, and he could sit for hours watching you play in the grass with Hadley. I wonder now, have you discovered Bernie Kosar's true identity? And while I'm sure you don't remember much of those youthful days, I can safely say you were a happy boy. For a brief while, you had the sort of childhood all children deserve, though not all receive. While I spent considerable time with your father, I met your mother only once. Her name was Laura, and, like your father, she was reserved and maybe even a little shy. I tell you this now because I want you to know who you are and who you come from. You come from a simple family of simple means, and the truth that I've always wanted to share with you is that we didn't leave Lorien because of where we happened to be that day. Our being at the airfield, it wasn't sheer happenstance. We were there because when the attack began, the guard rallied together to get you there. Many sacrificed their lives in the process. There were supposed to be 10 of you, though, as you know, only 9 made it. Tears blur my vision. I slide my fingers over my mother's name, Laura and Lyrin. I wonder what my Loric name was, if it also started with an L. I wonder if there wasn't a war, if I would have had a younger sister or brother. So much has been taken from me. When the 10 of you were born, Lorien recognized your strong hearts, your wills, your compassion, and in turn she bestowed the 10 of you with the roles you're all meant to assume. The roles of the original 10 elders. What this means is that in time, those of you left will grow to be far stronger than anything Lorien has ever seen before. Far stronger even than the original 10 elders from whom you've received your inheritances. The Mogadorians know this, which is why they're hunting you so feverishly now. They've grown desperate and have flooded this planet with spies. I never told you the truth because I feared it might drive you to arrogance and that you might be led astray. And there's far too much danger out there looking for you to risk that. I urge you, become strong. Grow into the role you are meant to assume and then find the others. Those of you left, you can still win this war. The last thing I have to tell you is that we didn't move to paradise by chance. Your legacies were delayed and I had begun to worry. And when my worry grew to a full-out panic when the third scar appeared, knowing you are next, I decided to seek out the one man who might hold the key to finding the others. When we arrived on Earth, there were 9 humans waiting for us who understood our situation and our need to scatter. They were allies of the Loric, and the last time we were here, 15 years ago, they were all given a transmission device that would turn itself on only if it came into contact with one of our ships. They were there that night to provide us guidance in the transition from Lorien to Earth to help us get started. None of us had ever been here before. When we stepped off the ship, we were each given 2 pairs of clothes, a packet of instructions to help us learn this planet's ways, and a slip of paper with an address on it. The addresses were a place to start, not to stay, and none of us knew where the others were headed. Ours led us to a small town in Northern California. It was a nice, quiet place 15 minutes from the coast. I taught you to ride a bike there and fly a kite, and more simple things like tying your shoes, which I had to first teach myself. We stayed 6 months, and then we went about our way, as I knew we must. The man who met you and me, our guide, was from Paradise, and I sought him because I was desperate to know where the others first went. But when we arrived here, the dark stars must have fallen because the man was already gone. This man who met us that first day, who gave us a cultural guide to follow, and who set us up in our first homes, his name was Malcolm Good, Sam's father. What I'm telling you now, John, is that I believe Sam was right. I believe his father was abducted. For Sam's sake, I can only hope he's still alive. And if Sam's still with you, I ask that you tell him this information, and I hope he finds comfort in hearing it. Become who you're meant to become, John. Grow strong and powerful, and never forget for a minute the things you've learned along the way. Be noble, confident, and brave. Live with the same sort of dignity and valor that you inherited from your father, and trust in your heart and your will as Lorian trusts in it still to this day. Never lose faith in yourself, and never lose hope. Remember, even when this world throws its worst and then turns its back, there is still always hope, and I'm certain someday you'll make it back home. With love, your friend in C-Pan, H. Ooh, that was intense. Blood pounds in my ears, and despite what Henry has written, I know in my heart that if we'd left Paradise when he'd wanted to, then he'd still be alive. We'd still be together. He came to the schools to save me, because it was his duty to, and because he loved me, and now he's gone. I take a deep breath, wipe my face with the back of my hand, and then walk from my room. Despite his bad legs, Sam insisted on taking the second floor, even when Six and I offered to take it instead. I go up the stairs now and knock on his door. I enter and flip his bedside lamp on, and I see his father's old glasses on the nightstand. Sam stirs. Sam? Hey, Sam? Sorry to wake you up, but there's some major shit you need to know. That gets his attention, and he pulls off the blanket. Tell me then. First, you have to promise not to get mad. I want you to know that I had no idea of any of what I'm about to tell you until just now. And whatever Henry's reasons were for not telling you to your face, you have to forgive him. He scoots up the mattress until his back rests on the headboard. Damn, John, tell me already. Promise me. Fine, I promise. I hand him the letter. I should have read it sooner, Sam. I'm really sorry I didn't. I leave the room and close his door to give him the privacy he deserves. I'm not sure how he'll react. There's no telling how a person will accept the answer to the question they've asked most of their life, the question that's haunted them. I walk down the stairs and slip out the back door with Bernie Kosar, who runs into the forest. I sit on the top of a picnic table. I can see my breath in the cool February air. Darkness is pushed to the west, while the morning light bleeds in from the east. I stare up at the half moon and wonder if Sarah's looking at it, or if any of the others might be seeing it. Me and the others, the 5 still left, are meant to assume the roles of the elders. I still don't entirely understand what that means. Then I close my eyes and lift my face towards the sky. I stay that way until the door slides open behind me. I turn, expecting to see Sam, but it's Six. She climbs up on the picnic table and sits next to me. I offer her a weak smile, but she doesn't return it. I heard you walk out here. Is everything okay? Did you and Sam have a fight or something? She asks. What? No, why? All I know is he's crying on the couch downstairs and he won't talk to me. I pause before telling her. I finally read the letter Henry left behind. There's some stuff about Sam he and I haven't told you. It's about his dad. What about his dad? Everything okay? I turn my body so our knees touch. Listen. When I met Sam in school, he was pretty obsessed with the disappearance of his dad, who just didn't come home from the grocery store one day. They found his truck and his glasses on the ground next to the truck. You know those glasses that you see him carrying around all the time? Six turns to look inside the back door. Wait, those are his dad's? Yeah. And so the deal is that Sam is pretty convinced he was abducted by aliens, which I always thought was crazy, but I don't know. I let him go on believing it because who am I to crush the dude's hope of finding his dad again? I was waiting for Sam to tell you all of this, but I just read Henry's letter, and you wouldn't believe what was in there. What? I tell her everything, about Sam's dad being a Lorik ally who met Henry and me when the ship landed, why Henry moved us to Paradise. Six slides off the top of the picnic table and lands awkwardly on the bench. That is just so totally random that Sam is here. In there. I don't think it is. I mean, think about it. It just so happens that of all the people in Paradise I'm drawn to for a best friend, it happens to be Sam. I think we were destined to meet. Maybe you're right. Pretty cool that his dad helped us that night, right? The coolest. Remember when he said he had these feelings growing inside him about being with us? I do. But here's the thing. In Henry's letter, he says that Sam's dad actually was abducted, or maybe even killed by the Mogadorians. We sit in silence, watching the sun slowly come up over the horizon. Bernie Kosar jogs out of the forest and rolls onto his back to have his belly rubbed. Hey there, Hadley. He flips onto his feet instantly when I say it, tilting his beagle head. Yeah, I say, jumping down to scratch his chin with both hands. I know. Sam walks out. His eyes are red. He sits next to Six on the bench. Hi, Hadley, Sam says to Bernie Kosar. BK barks in response and licks his hands. Hadley? Six asks. The dog barks again in approval. I always knew it, Sam says. Always. From the day he disappeared. You were right all this time, I say. Do you mind if I read the letter? Six asks. Sam hands it to her. I aim my right palm at the front page and turn on its light. She reads the letter in its radiance, then folds the pages and hands them back. I'm really sorry, Sam, she says. I add, Henry and I wouldn't have survived if it wasn't for your dad. Six then turns to me. You know, it's ridiculous that your parents were Lyren and Lara. Or it's ridiculous I didn't realize that myself. Do you remember me from Lori and John? Your parents and my parents. Their names were Aran and Lynn. They were best friends. I know we weren't around our parents all that often, but I remember going to your house a few times. You were just a toddler at the time, I think. It takes me a few seconds to remember what Henry once told me. It was the day Sarah had gotten back from Colorado, the day we confessed being in love with one another. After she left, Henry and I were eating dinner, and he said, though I don't know her number or have any idea where she is, one of the children who came to Earth with us was the daughter of your parents' best friends. They used to joke that it was fate that the two of you would end up together. I almost tell Six what Henry said, but remember how that conversation came about because of my feelings for Sarah brings back the same guilt I've felt since Six and I went for our walk. Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I don't really remember it, though, I say. Regardless, this is some heavy stuff about the elders and how we're supposed to assume their roles. No wonder the Mogs are so relentless, she says. Definitely makes sense. We have to go back to Paradise, Sam interrupts. Yeah, right, Six laughs. What we need to do is find the others somehow. We need to get back on that laptop, train some more. Sam stands. No, I'm serious, guys. We have to go back. If my dad left something behind, that transmission device, I think I know how to find it. When I was 7, he told me that my future was mapped on the sundial. I would ask him what he was talking about, and he'd just say that if the dark stars ever fell, I was supposed to find the Enad and read the map by my birth date on the sundial. What's an Enad? I ask. It's a group of 9 deities in Egyptian mythology. 9? Six asks. 9 deities? And what sundial? I ask. It's starting to make sense to me now, Sam says. He begins walking around the picnic table as he puts it together in his head, Bernie Kosar nipping at his heels. I used to get so frustrated because he was always saying all this weird stuff that only he understood. A few months before he disappeared, my dad dug a well in our backyard, and he said it would collect the rainwater from the gutters and whatever. But after the concrete was poured, he put this elaborate-looking sundial on the stone lid. Then he stood looking down at the well, and he said to me, Your future's mapped on the sundial, Sam. And you never checked it out? I asked. Sure I did. I twisted the sundial around, trying my date and time of birth and a few other things, but nothing ever happened. I thought it was just a stupid well with a sundial on it after a while. But now that I read Henry's letter, the part about the dark stars, I know that it has to be some kind of clue to all this. It's like he told me without telling me, Sam beams. He was so smart. So are you, I say. This could very well be suicide, us going back to paradise. But I don't think we have much of a choice now. Alright guys, that was the end of chapter 18. Yay, I got it all in before my brother got here, so that's good. Alright, so let me know if you like this video by clicking that wonderful thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can continue getting more videos of this book and the others I'm going to be reading on my channel some point. And leave me a comment down below. Thank you. Bye. Reading by Ree for now.